All right. Welcome to High Low Ball with Jake Newman, Jack Sabota, and yours truly, Grant Stoner. This is your new weekly stop for the highs and lows of football and other balls. Other sports, really. Other sports. Jake, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me as always,
As
Ready to talk
always,
about ball and ball. So,
all of it. Jack, how are you?
oh yeah. Oh
Well,
yeah.
nice and
Thanks. Okay, well, anyway, so here we are, episode one. Well, we've really been doing this for years, is having high level, highbrow sports discussion built around our passion for sports. And we decided that we're going to stop doing it for free. And it's time to start monetizing all this stuff. So, um, anyways, so yeah, first episode. Anything sticking out to you guys this week, Jake? Anything from this week sticking out to you? Sports news, life news,
Yeah, I
anything?
mean,
What you got?
talk about wanting to get monetized or something. I've been thinking about this since last year. Obviously, the Stanley Cup Finals are going on, and we got the Panthers and the Oilers in a rematch. And I thought about this last year. I was like, that is a long way to travel back and forth for a seven-game series. Turns out it is the furthest hockey teams have ever traveled for the Stanley Cup Finals. So I think that's
Whoa.
funny. But
Yeah.
what's more of point is that between these 60-minute hockey games that are the furthest apart in the countries, they only get 2 days for break, or 1 day in between games for a break, where the NBA Finals going from OKC to OKC in games one and two took a 2 day break. So I just want to point that out that, they always talk about hockey players being tougher, but I think flopping is coming into the schedule makers too. So I think that's big. That's a little tough.
Are you calling
That
the
stick
NBA
out
soft?
a little bit, a little bit. I mean,
Okay.
there's one person in the finals took home some hardware who's a little known for flopping. So I won't shout him out by name, maybe just by initials. So
I was gonna bring it up too. It's outrageous that the NBA takes 18 days to play 7 games in a year. Like, are you not just nuking all of your momentum? I was following some of the earlier NBA playoffs for the first time in my life, and I was like, oh, it's kind of cool, like a game a night ish, kind of good. And I get it, you need a day off. Like, I don't think basketball is a super physically demanding sport, but like it helps to have some time to everyone's at their peak performance when they're playing. But I think this is a little bit outrageous. And like, why would you not schedule an NBA Finals game for like a pretty empty Saturday night in late May? Like, isn't that kind of your spot? Like, what else is taking that spot? I was flabbergasted there wasn't a game on Saturday night.
Yeah, that felt weird to me too, especially considering the last one had been like, yeah, 2 days ago. I had been watching all the or the conference finals because they do play those, or they try to, uh, like with 1 day gaps. So it makes it a little more easy to remember, like when they're playing. And then also every night there's a game, kind of, is like how it works out. Um, but yeah, once you get into the finals and it's like, oh, nice, that was awesome, great. If it was a great game, like the first game was, I mean, you want to tune in immediately again, and then you have to wait 2 days, and then that one's a blowout anyways. So now you've lost all your momentum just because you have to wait another 2 days after a blowout. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And then just how we want to do things on this NFL podcast is we're sticking with NBA because I had an interesting thing I noticed. Is Tyrese Halliburton?
yeah.
Have you guys seen his stats on like how his first shot of each of the game affects his performance? Because
No.
it's
No.
crazy. He's so when he makes his first shot, okay, it affects the whole team's win rate, points per game, field goal percentage, and 3-point percentage, like drastically. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so the win rate, it's 71%. They win 71% of the time when he hits his first shot. When he misses his first shot, 60. Okay, it drops a whole 10 points percent.
Okay.
His scoring, when he hits his first shot of the game, he scores 22.9 a game. When he misses, 15.4 per game on missed first shots. Okay. I'm moving my camera because I think my computer's getting really loud. Okay, now I have this nice backlight. Field goal percentage drops, 3-point percentage drops from 44.6 when he makes his first shot to 31.9. Okay, when he misses.
Wow.
So I thought that was crazy that this like NBA player. I'm also going to close these in a second after I finish my thought because I think it's washing me out. But that this NBA player like can't overcome missing a first shot is crazy to me. So, yeah.
That's wild. There's probably a little bit of correlation causation, but honestly, to me, I was kind of thinking Halliburton's more of like a vibes player, anyways. Like, there's no other explanation for a dude to be like a better at half of the league, but like pretty average as far as like stars for a team goes. There's like no
Yeah.
reason for him to be like that average through the season, then get to the playoffs and just be the most clutch player we've seen in like a decade, at least during the playoffs. Like every time they need a bucket, he's making it and they're coming back in crazy fashion. I mean, this just kind of shows that he's just straight vibes, like, you know.
Yeah. Jack, what'd you see this week?
So even though we're about football, mine's going to be about MLB this week, and that I have
Man.
been really enjoying
I'm glad-
watching
I'm
Caglioni.
glad- sorry, I'm gonna say that I'm glad we cut foot from the title because
Yeah,
considering the injury,
yeah.
it's good.
I have
Oh,
been selfishly
man.
watching a lot of Jack Caglioni play, and he's been a very fun player to watch, despite the fact that he had a pretty abysmal first 4 or 5 games, maybe. So I was going to compare like how he'd been doing versus how George Brett did in his first 25 at bats. And apparently George Brett batted like 80% in his first 25 at bats, which is and Caglione was on pace for that, but then he hit 4 hits in his last game against the White Sox, and now he's batting 240. So that's pretty awesome. I just love a player who's putting the ball in play. Like, yeah, he's having a lot of ground outs and a lot of fly outs, but it's fun. It's good baseball. So he makes the Royals a fun team to watch.
For sure. And especially for a guy who's known for power, usually your drawback on that is strikeouts. And yeah, I watched his first game too, and considering that it was what, 5 outs? He got out 5 times?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it was 5 balls in play. There were he didn't strike out once in his first game. And so, yeah, it's kind of like breaking the mold there.
Yeah, I noticed that throughout the series too. It wasn't just a first game thing either. Like throughout the series, I think he had like 10 or 11 plate appearances before he first struck out. Like that's insane for a guy who's supposed to be a power hitter. So, yeah.
I don't
Just
think he's
nuts.
ever going to walk. Like, he's going to hit it.
Awesome. Okay, now finally, what we've all been waiting for, football talk. And what better way to do it than our first segment today, which is our PIP list. Jack, what's a PIP list? What's a PIP?
You're not doing so hot in a pretty corporate environment. You are politely put onto a personal performance improvement plan. PIP.
So PPIP.
Yeah, my company might call it
A pip, as you will.
I guess it depends where you are, but it's a PIP. It's on the personal improvement plan and performance improvement plan. And it means you're not doing so hot, you're kind of on thin ice. We're going to work with you. And if you don't fix your stuff, we're going to fire you. So it's never fun to be put on one of those. Every coworker is put on one of those. Everyone's like, oh, okay. Hopefully, both of you two will not ever have to work in a workplace that has them. But such is the life of a corporate employee.
Cost of doing business. So, all right. So to get things started off, really. Jake, who's the first player, team, coach, other that you're putting on a PIP? We're each going to do 3. So
Are we going
All right.
in any order?
we're going. Well, I was thinking we'd kind of go around and each do one, and each do one, but we can just give your 3. Jake.
I like that.
You like going around?
That's
Okay,
better.
let's go around.
Yeah, mine kind of start with like least needs the pip to most needs the pip along people who need the pip. So, yeah, we'll work with it that way.
So who's your?
This can be a
who's
little
your-
unorthodox. Yeah, this can be a little unorthodox, so bear with me. All right.
Okay.
I really wanted to pick a mascot for this, so I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole. So I'm going to start with this. I discovered something called the Mascot Hall of Fame. Either of you heard of this?
Why would I have?
All right, I'll give you. That's a fair point. I'll give you the highlights that you need to know about it. Little Red is on it, but Herbie Husker isn't. So as a Little Red truther and a Herbie Husker hater, that really helped me out a lot. Some highlights of people who are on this list include the Philly Fanatic, Benny the Bull, Big Red for Western Kentucky, Big Blue with the Indianapolis Colts, pretty famous mascots. And Otto the Orange with Syracuse is listed as a vegetable, so take that how you will. But I say all of this to lead into one mascot that has never come close to sniffing the Mascot Hall of Fame is Sir Purr with the Carolina Panthers, who I think might be the worst mascot in the NFL. Yeah, first of all, he wears number 0, which is just 00, which is just bad vibes. Back in the 90s when he was like first becoming a mascot, he jumped on a live ball and the Panthers got penalized for it. So like he started off weak and I don't think he ever really recovered. And then about 5 years ago, Robbie Anderson in an interview with the team referred to Sir Purr, who is obviously a Panther, so the Carolina Panthers, referred to him as a bear, thought he was a bear. The social media team still makes fun of Sir Purr for this on social media. And since that has happened, the team has won 24 games in 5 years. So I'm coming at Sir Purr for this. I think he kind of needs to get his head out of his butt. I think that he's letting this one thing bring him down. And he kind of has the vibes of a dude who grew up with like 6 sisters and really just needed like brotherly love because they're just jokes and he's not taking them well. And he is not inspiring a football team at all. He's letting his personal life affect his work. But
You said,
so I think a pip list would really help him.
yeah, definitely. You said the team's actual social media account routinely makes fun of him for being called a bear.
Yes, there's like multiple accounts on it. Yeah. Like on
Nice.
his socials,
Nice.
it comes up that like he's a bear
Nice.
and he's not taking it well. But I have some Sir Purr stats I found that if just to give him a chance at not being on the PIP list, but I really still think he should go there because I think if we just get his head out of his butt or out of his tail, whatever, he'll be better. But here are the stats I could find on him. He averages 451 hugs a game, 331 belly shakes per minute, whatever that means. 6.5 gallons of milk a day, which can't be healthy even for a cat. And I don't know how they're getting this number, but over 7 million smiles a year. I mean, they just seem like bogus stats to try and get his mentality up, but I think he needs a more structured PIP plan to really help.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good first pip. I think, so you want to see less milk but more hugs per game?
I just want him to come out and like really, I think he needs to address the bear thing publicly and confidently first.
Yeah.
And then he just needs to like, I mean, he's just too soft. You know what I mean? I think he's got the passion. I think he's just not portraying it in the right way on the field.
Love it. Awesome. Jack?
I'm speechless. I'm literally speechless. I know.
What that means to me is that you have no problems with my take. So.
All
Yeah,
right, Brandon, what do you got?
Okay, I'll go from least in need to most in need. And I'm going to recollect to the last football game of the season. And I'm actually going to put the Chiefs on here. Because, okay, I know what you're saying. They've been in the Super Bowl a lot lately. They were just in the Super Bowl. They've won the championships. They brought KC back on top. All of that. And I agree. Still playing to dine out on for the Chiefs. Still playing success to ride. But I think if they really want to go down as a historic great team, which they already are, this Chiefs build. But if they really, want to get as much, juice out of the squeeze as they can, they've got to come out strong to start the season, okay? They ended on a blowout, not a good look. I think generally people haven't brought it up as much more as they put it on the Eagles' dominance than the Chiefs' failures is what it feels like, especially with the tush push trying to get banned again in the offseason. It feels like the Chiefs have an opportunity. They haven't been getting dogged on all offseason as much as I would almost sometimes think they might have been. But looking at their first 5, okay, it's Chargers, Eagles, Giants, Baltimore, Jacksonville. So my PIP plan for them is to start the season 4-1, and you have to win the rematch. You've got to beat the Eagles. You're playing them at home. You get to warm up against the Chargers. Nobody, what are the Chargers? Who knows ever what the Chargers are? You can beat them. And then at home, Eagles come to town. You got to beat them. And that's my pick, is the Chiefs. I know it might not be the expected or the normal, but I think if you get them on that track, they start 4-1, they'll be in a great spot for the rest of the year.
So your plan is for them to win more games.
Yeah, because coming out of the blowout to end the season, that's a downturn. They have pressure. Guys are getting older. Can Travis Kelce still play? Chris Jones isn't getting younger. Mahomes isn't getting younger. I think questions will arise. More questions will start to arise, and they'll be pestered with, is it over? Are the Chiefs done? Unless you come out of that 4-1, and I think beating the Eagles is a key to that too.
I actually might disagree with you here, and I think it would be fabulous for the Chiefs to be a wild card this year and kind of get back in the trenches, re-embrace that underdog mentality. It felt like the Chiefs had kind of been in protect the title mode for 3 years. And I think that's really exhausting for a team to bear that weight for as long as it did. And that's probably why we haven't ever seen a three-peat in the NFL. So I almost wonder if the Chiefs had a little bit of the pressure taken off of them and had some space to breathe for the first time in 3 years, 5 years. I don't know. 2021 was probably the last time the Chiefs were not looked at with dominance, but even then they were still pretty good. So I don't know. Maybe you're right. The Chiefs won 15 games last season in the regular season, and they could have beat the Broncos if they tried. So they really only had one real loss in the regular season, and it didn't really seem to matter. And I just worry the Chiefs get complacent sometimes. So maybe you won't push back from me on your plan.
Well,
I would say. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think you might get your wish on the Chiefs being a wild card team, because I'd be pretty shocked if they went through that first stretch 4-1. If I was betting on it, I think I'd take the under on them winning 4 of the first 5 games, and I honestly think I'd get minus money on it. I think after watching the last game, you said most people might be thinking that it was the Eagles being so dominant. I think that the Chiefs Super Bowl window is in being high favorites to the Super Bowl and stuff like that. I think it's closing quicker than most people think. So
I agree. Which is why I think coming out, I think you're right that it'd be good to get back in the trenches and get back, and you're not the defending champs again. I think that's behind him. I think that happened, the blowout, all of it. They're in that mindset. So for me, instead of it starting out, okay, now we're a wild card team, now let's get scrappy. For me, it starts game 1. Be that scrappy underdog wild card, because it does seem like I've heard plenty of takes lately that's the Chiefs are going to be a wild card. They're going to be third in their division. They're not, whatever. I have plenty of people, they're the hot take darling right now because everybody wants to put that final nail in. So I think for the Chiefs to send that, and I know they don't care about sending a message. They're always going to say that. But if they want to maintain that identity, that legacy, that brand of Chiefs dominate everything, that's what I want to see from them. So, but good point, pushing back. Jack, speaking of, back to you. Who are you putting on the list?
I'll start my first one with a story. When I was in high school, sophomore year of cross country, we got a new coach. And he was a fabulous coach, a phenomenal coach, once in a generation kind of coach. He came in, he wrote all of our workouts for the season in May and gave it to all of us, and we followed it. And we won our first state championship in a long time in both boys and girls. Absolutely fabulous. Immediately that winter after, he was hired by a D1 university to be their head coach for cross country. So he was definitely way too good for us. And then someone who had been floating around our school for a while and was kind of a known commodity got put in to be the replacement head coach. And every year he kind of just took the same workouts that the original coach made and tweaked them a little bit to fit the dates and kind of just kept using them over and over and over again. And kind of won and then won again, but kind of kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then we stopped winning. And then we just weren't winning. And then he got caught hooking up with someone who he taught at one point. And it ended really poorly and he got fired. And I don't think it's going to end like that for this guy. But I think Matt Nagy is going to have a similarly awful end at the Chiefs. Get his thing turned around. Because I mean, talk about nepotism. Nagy was
No
hired by
way.
Veach and Reed back in Philly forever ago, and he's just kind of been floating around him for a while. And we have Eric Bieniemy who comes in and like delivers like 4 or 5 years of some of the best offenses in football. Like Mahomes, QBR, like I'll exclude 2018 because that was a ridiculous year, but like 2019, 2020, 2021, 22, like 77, 78, 67, 79. Like that's like incredible QBR. There wasn't a QB this season who had a QBR above like 77 and a half, I think. So like Mahomes was just utterly dominant. It was a great offense. The Chiefs scored also points. They were fun. Bieniemy leaves and goes somewhere else, and Nagy comes in after being fired by the Bears, which was I haven't even gotten to the Bears stuff, but the Bears stuff was also pretty atrocious, I believe. And like the offense, like Mahomes' QBR just immediately tanks. Like the average depth of Mahomes' passes dropped from like 8.1, 8.2 to like 6.8 this season. And I'll just tell you the last over the last 12 years, there have only been 3 QBs to have a QBR over like 75 with an average depth of passing under 7. It's Mahomes this past season, Josh Allen 2021, and Matt Ryan 2013. Like I don't like Nagy is making Mahomes look like he is 2020 Drew Brees, but unlike Drew Brees in 2020, Mahomes has a functioning right arm, and I don't know why we're doing it. Like I know cover 2 has become a much more common thing in the NFL, but it doesn't seem to stop other teams from like having fun, having cool plays, not just throwing dink and dunks every play. Uh, so yeah, I really want to see Nagy get a little bit more creative with the offense. Let the ball fly a little more. Work on the deep connections. Work on some of the deeper intermediate stuff. Get away from some of that screen stuff. But I'll open it up to you guys now.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
you know I'm always
Bieniemy
here
was
for the Matt
electric.
Nagy slander. So
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. Bieniemy was electric for them. I mean, great plays, and he went to UCLA to head coach, which was kind of out of
Well, he went to the Commanders or whatever they were
that.
called the first
Yes,
season
that's
under
right.
Frank Reich,
That's right.
and I don't think that team was going to ever win anything.
No,
And he
so
just when that regime ended, he got cast back to college football.
yeah,
He
yeah.
needed UCLA for a bit. I think he's still there. I would take him back.
he actually
You fan personally,
he,
but
he actually just joined the Bears staff this year.
oh,
So
Of course.
yeah, So
Nice,
full circle, huh?
Full
full
circle.
circle.
Oh, look at that connection.
I
all
just
right.
worry that Nagy's never going to really get held accountable because he's really close with Andy Reid and really close with Veach. And I see like this similar like end of the dynasty stuff the Patriots kind of had, where like the Patriots had some people floating around who were totally not qualified, but were just good friends with the important people who were actually good at their jobs. I'm like, no, I don't want to see that for the Chiefs. So
Well, it's funny that Jack brought that long story up because I'm going to bring up the Browns quarterback room, but not Deshaun Watson, so we don't have to talk about that kind of stuff. I actually want to talk about Kenny Pickett, which might be surprising that I'm talking about a backup quarterback, but but you could argue the other way that I'm talking about a Super Bowl champion, so he shouldn't need the PIP list at all. But I'm talking about Kenny Pickett because they just traded for him, and I don't think he's even going to make the team. So I think he needs to act fast. I think that he is not playing better than Joe Flacco, and I have a hard time seeing them cutting one of their rookie quarterbacks. And if he gets cut, I was looking at teams that might have room for him and might have as a landing spot, and there's like nothing. I was gonna say maybe he goes back to Pittsburgh before the Rodgers stuff broke, but I was looking for teams that didn't already have three quarterbacks that like I had heard of and were decent enough, or rooms that had two and didn't draft a rookie this year because the rookies are almost always going to make the team. And the spots I found were maybe the Lions behind Goff and Hendon Hooker, maybe the Ravens behind Lamar and Cooper Rush, or maybe the Bengals behind Joe Burrow and Jake Browning. But I don't really think any of those want a third quarterback. Like they've got good enough second guys, and then I was having a hard time finding a spot for him unless somebody just cut their third guy and put him way down a depth chart. Like I think if he's going to turn it around, it has to be now. But the reason I think that Pip could work, hypothetically, if he stayed on the Browns or went to a different team, is because he's never really been behind a veteran quarterback presence. And his first few years where he was actually getting starting reps, he was pretty injured. So I think if he just had like a season to sit and be the second quarterback like he might be in Cleveland, I think that would actually be really good for him and he might develop a little bit. But I just don't think he's going to get the chance if he doesn't turn it around faster than he needs to. So
So you see like a Geno or a Darnold arc maybe for Pickett?
maybe, I don't even know if I see it as much that I think he needs that for him to have a chance. I think his clock is ticking. He wasn't an early first round pick, so usually those guys get shorter leashes. And obviously we can see that. He's been traded twice already in 3 seasons. So, I mean, I think the time's running out and he's probably going to get picked up somewhere, but it's not going to be getting reps anywhere. So, if he doesn't figure this out.
I could see him going somewhere really barren, like the Saints. I don't really know what they have behind their rookie.
I had that possibly as a written down possibly, but I just didn't see it as much because they just drafted a rookie. But even if he went there, he's probably quarterback 3.
Yeah, clock ticking for sure with Pickett. I could see him being, if it doesn't make the team, he'd be an early call for teams, facing an injury or something during the season too.
That's a good
If
call.
you guys were in his shoes, would you prioritize going to a team with an established veteran quarterback or an established veteran coaching staff? Because
I think coaching
I
staff.
think if I could go be like the Vikings
Yeah.
backup quarterback, I'd do
Yeah.
that over
Yeah.
going to like go behind staff or someone like that. Like, I don't want to go somewhere with like a coaching staff where I'm like, wow, I really like these guys.
Yeah, I would say that too. I'd say coaching staff just because you're looking at, especially a guy who's been in the year or been in the league for a couple of years already. It doesn't seem like veteran status is something they need anymore. That's maybe something more you draft a rookie into a slot behind a veteran. Where, Sam Darnold, he took off once he got with the coaching staff who figured out what to do with him, right? Baker Mayfield, similar guys who just found coaches who believed in what they could do and built systems for them. Where if they had to go on those contracts and sit behind more veterans, who always say they aren't there to be a mentor anyways. I mean, I don't know what that does for a guy. It's like, Kenny Pickett's been around. He's almost a veteran according to what the NFL calls veterans. So, yeah,
True.
curious to see. That QB, the Browns, for how horrible they always are, there's always something to talk about, which I appreciate. There's always something to talk about. Staying in the division there with the Browns, I'm going, and speaking of clocks, this is a clock that I don't even think they worried about setting because of how loyal this franchise always is to coaches. But Mike Tomlin with the Steelers, I have to see, if I'm a Steelers fan, I have to see playoff win this year, if not more than one. You made us wait all off season to just see who our quarterback's going to be, see which jersey we need to buy this year. Okay, we're sitting around waiting. Now we knew it was Aaron Rodgers, but did you know? Okay, you get Aaron Rodgers in there. The whole goal of getting Aaron Rodgers is that what everybody says he adds 2 or 3 more wins for the season. Well, we want to see those in the playoffs if you're a Steelers fan. And I get loyalty, I get all that, but from the franchise itself. But Steelers fans, they're used to being a perennial contender. Okay, they're a premier franchise, a premier brand in the NFL. When the Steelers are better, the whole league rises. And so, yeah, I think Mike Tomlin, I know they never really do this, but, you got to win some games. You got to win some important games this year. Or it might be new coach for the Steelers for the first time in a long time.
I know that's your opinion. Realistically, what do you think the floor is for Mike Tomlin? Or like, what is his floor, or how bad can he do and not get fired by the Steelers? Like, if Mike Tomlin goes 4-13, is he fired?
I think if he's 4-13 with a healthy Aaron Rodgers, I think it's, because it's just complacency. Even just like waiting on what other teams will do in the draft, not really making a decision. Oh, did you kind of want Shedeur? Did you kind of not? Did you kind of want Aaron Rodgers? Not even having a game plan going into the offseason when you knew all last year, if you knew Justin Fields wasn't the guy, how do you not have a plan immediately offseason of which quarterback you do want next year? It just feels like everything took way too long for the Steelers all offseason, and they weren't ready, which is the whole coach's job, is to be ready. So
Yeah. I was a Tomlin truther for a long time. This season kind of opened my eyes. They had 2 totally different quarterbacks with totally different play styles, and it was the exact same product with both of them, which seems almost hard to do. Like, I don't know how you have such a rushing quarterback and an old veteran quarterback, and neither can make the offense go and both play the exact same. Just doesn't make sense. And like the quarterback situation, like I think if his winning season streak ends this year, they should fire him. I mean, I think that's kind of his bar because it's just not moving anywhere is just as bad. And to me, I don't even care if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt in this equation because they could have signed somebody else too, and they only had Mason Rudolph, and they continuously went out and said, yeah, we're good with Mason Rudolph. And sure, you kind of have to say that, but it would have cost them nothing to still have Kenny Pickett on a rookie deal, would have cost them almost nothing to extend Justin Fields and take his fifth-year option. Like, they could have gone other ways and just said, we're getting Aaron Rodgers and we're going to sit with Mason Rudolph until then. So it's still kind of on you, even if he gets injured. You know that's a risk.
And final note on this, I mean, Steelers wanting to take care of their coaches, all that stuff. It's not like they're sending him out on the streets. I think if he is let go from Pittsburgh, if it's not the right time anymore, I think there are plenty of franchises who would be lining up to have him lead their squad for the future, if he wants to. So, all right, Jack, who's your number 2?
I have a question first. Have you guys ever been a part of an organization and thought that your organization made a horrible decision?
Sure.
Sure, yeah.
Give me an example,
Yeah.
Jake.
Yeah. An example?
Yeah, you have an example?
Oh, without getting into frat politics, I mean, but I think you know where I'm going with that, but at least one occasion. But organization sports wise, I mean, I could name 5, or at least the last 3 times the Bears drafted a quarterback without having a new coach. But
I get the impression that DJ Moore was pretty frustrated with the Bears for letting go of Justin Fields and picking Caleb Williams. And I think we've been seeing a lot of smoke from the drama inside the Bears being caused by him. And I guess I would put him on an improvement plan because I want to see no smoke. Like, do I think some of the stuff coming out of Chicago is maybe a little bit overblown with the way DJ Moore feels? Yeah, like the hilarious quote from last week about like educating Bears players in body language and some of the stuff coming out, like that feels a little bit much. But where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And DJ Moore was objectively not trying his hardest on a lot of the plays last year. So I guess I would love to see no drama and full effort on all of his plays this season.
I like it. And receivers are known to not be dramatic. So, I mean, he's really breaking the mold there. I mean, yeah, you got to set that. You got to get that back lined up, right? So.
Yeah,
all right.
I listened to a DJ Moore news conference, and he basically said that Ben Johnson got on his butt for it, and then he wouldn't do it again. I don't believe him in the slightest, but he did say it. So now if it happens again, we've got proof that he's not going to do it again. So
there you go. All right, Jake, who's your number 1 on the PIP list? Most in need.
Yeah. Honorable mention is the New Orleans Saints. No fan base should be happy that your veteran quarterback medically retired because now you're not in cap hell. That shouldn't exist. So they get my honorable mention, but I'm going to switch sports for my last one and go with the Baltimore Orioles. It kind of feels crazy to not pick a worse baseball team if you're going to pick baseball team, but I would have fired the White Sox and the Rockies, so we're just pretending that they're not here. One of the best, youngest, most exciting teams to watch in baseball right now, and as of recording this, they're 12 games under 500, which is shocking if you haven't been following them, because they're still a good team, and they added pieces from last year. And last year, they were the number 1 seed in the AL and lost their opening series, didn't win a game. And the year before that, they were an up-and-coming team that nobody expected, and they didn't win a game. So it's just like, I think it's kind of now or never that like these young guys got to figure it out before it gets in their heads. And I was looking into it a little bit, and it's more of an organizational issue than I realized. They haven't won a postseason playoff series since 2014, and they've been swept in their last 4 playoff series. So like, this team is supposed to be doing better. They couldn't get over the hump. And then you expect these young guys to come back firing, and they just came out so flat this year that I just think that's really bad. Their mascot is in the Hall of Fame, though. So they got that going for them.
You can always ride that. You can ride that forever.
Yeah,
so.
I mean,
yeah,
that's a positive.
For the uneducated, what tweaks would you suggest if you were their coach?
Man, that's tough. They've been playing really sloppy, where they weren't doing that last year. They have really good young fielders who are great, and like good shortstop Gunnar Henderson, guys like that who just have not fit the bill this year. Like they're making more errors. They're just like they're not hitting as well. Their pitching staff is getting behind the eight ball early, and the team is kind of just laying flat, not recovering. They've done a bad job just like coming back in games late too. It's kind of just like these young guys came out expecting to be good, and then they realized, oh, we're in the major leagues, and other teams are getting better too. So I think it's one of those situations.
It's good breakdown. Way to utilize all the sports. And yeah, the Orioles, they really shocked me considering how hot they were last year, how young they still are, and yeah, just completely underperforming. I'm going to bring it back to
it just blew me away that I had to talk about it.
Yeah. My number one in the PIP is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is one of those guys that every year I draft in fantasy football. Every year I say, this is Trevor Lawrence's coming out party. This is, okay, they got him a new coach or a new receiver or a new insert, anything you can get him new here. It is time for Trevor Lawrence to show us what he can do. Long hair, everything. And it just never happens. Okay? So I'm literally the Jaguars in this. Like, I keep falling for it. If I'm the Jaguars, I'm not falling for it another season, though. Because if he's not there this year, and he's not good for them, I think it's bye-bye Trevor Lawrence. He's got a big contract. They paid him like he's the future. He hasn't performed like it. And they just drafted him the superstar wide receiver, who's also not a wide receiver. But I still don't know what they decide on how many snaps he's going to play on either side of the ball for Travis Hunter. But either way, Travis Hunter is going to be getting the most questions in the organization this year. Okay? In every press conference, every post game, he's the one that every reporter is going to want to talk to about how much he played defense and how much he played offense and what the dynamic is and everything. As the quarterback and as the leader of the team, I think it falls on his shoulders. It's a double-edged sword here with all that heat on Travis. Because I think it falls on his shoulders to take the heat off of Travis Hunter and just play well enough to where the questions aren't legitimized enough for reporters to ask incessantly, oh, are you going to play more of this, more of that next week, whatever. So you got to play good enough to take that heat off of Travis. But you also get the benefit of you're not what everybody cares the most about in the organization this year. They traded up for Travis Hunter, drafted the superstar, and they're selling Travis Hunter jerseys. You get a little heat off of you, a little bit of that off of you, and the attention, and so you can just grind and play well. He starts the season against Carolina, Cincinnati, Houston, San Francisco, Kansas City. It's not an easy stretch, but you got to be competent, and you got to be in most of those games for me to believe in Trevor Lawrence and hopefully draft him next year again. So
you are right about that contract. I knew it was big. I just looked it up. He is the 5th highest paid quarterback per year in the NFL. And that feels a little bit outrageous to me.
It's a crazy
to both of you.
Oh,
I was trying to think, where would I rank Trevor Lawrence among NFL QBs? Would you rather have Geno Smith or Trevor Lawrence as your QB?
ooh, that's a good one. I think right now, I think Trevor Lawrence, just because of his age. I think that's tough though. I don't know. I'm not totally out on Trevor Lawrence personally, but I do think if he starts to struggle early, Travis Hunter is going to start playing a lot more wide receiver, because I do think his leash is small and they need to figure it out as soon as possible. So
just to answer your question, I would go Geno because it feels like his floor is low, but at least you know what you're getting. I think the floor is lower with Trevor Lawrence, and I still feel like it's like, what are you even getting? I mean, are you getting, once in a while he'll have a great game, but then it's like 3 picks the next one. I mean, he just, like, the inconsistency would kill me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence plays every game like Justin Herbert plays in the playoffs, which isn't really what you want, but you still have that same if factor. It's just he's not a playoff if man, he's just an every game if man. So
all right, Jack, rounded out final PIP player or coach or team or whatever.
My final pick was going to be Matt Nagy, but you brought up the Chiefs, so I moved him up to the front. Here's my question for you guys. Would Mike McDaniels be a better head coach if he put on 25 pounds of muscle?
No.
No, I think he's at peak coaching performance like right now, or
You think he
however.
is a great coach right now?
No, I think he's just like I think he's the best coach he can be. Like I think his look is what makes him a great coach. He looks like a coach.
He
Like if
looks
he
like a
got
coach.
lean, if he got super lean, I'd be like I think you care more about that than the team. You want a coach who eats
My
cheeseburgers
problem,
because it means all he has time to think about is his football team. He can't go cook steak and rice every night and hit the gym all the time. He's got to be like, oh crap, I guess we'll hit McDonald's again on the way home from film.
my problem with McDaniels as a coach starts when he starts talking. So
I guess this is a hot take, perhaps. I don't think people with his personality make great head coaches. Like I did his Myers Briggs out of curiosity, and it's like the contrarian kind of personality type. I just don't think those people necessarily make the best head coaches. I've just seen a lot of like late season weakness, fragile teams, just like very gimmicky offenses that start out so hot and then kind of get figured out every year. We kind of have this pattern where like week 4, the Dolphins are averaging tons of points per game, and then by the end of the season, they're kind of flat. And I think his teams have gotten a little worse every year. 2022, they had a close game against the Bills in the playoffs. 23, they got nuked by the Chiefs in like a freezing Arrowhead game. And this year, Tua got hurt and they didn't make the playoffs. But I just want to see a team that overcomes stuff. Like good coaches, like Aaron Glenn, when all their players get hurt, they make it work. They figure it out. They do the best that they can. And they don't complain too much. And that's why he got promoted to being the head coach of the Jets. Where I feel like every year, like the Dolphins are such a fragile organization where one little thing gets hurt or goes wrong, and then House of Cards collapses.
Yeah, yeah. The
So
Dolphins. Yeah, yeah.
you got
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say yeah. I mean Dolphins. I mean that was like floating around my orb too of like who to put in this because it's just like you have all the weapons, all the offense, the great, the very good quarterback, and you should be performing better. You should be bringing the Dolphins up a tier where it feels like you're always a little plateauing at the end of the year. So I agree. That's a
yeah,
good.
to me, McDaniels feels like perfect candidate for would be a much better just offensive coordinator. Not that his offense has been perfect, but if he could just focus on that and didn't have all this other weight of just like everything on his shoulders, I think maybe he adjusts better throughout the season and the offenses look better by the end of it.
And do you guys think culture for a team primarily comes from the coach or from the locker room, or where do you kind of see that originating from? Because I feel like the Dolphins have a very weak culture, and I'm blaming it on McDaniels, but I could be wrong there.
I think it's coach. I think it's coach. I think more often than not that you talk about coaches as we're introducing a new culture. They're the ones who talk about that. They're the ones who get to run all of that. So yeah, I would say yeah, it's on McDaniels to kind of bring
I
that
agree.
right.
And in my opinion, it's definitely coach too. But Tyreek Hill on his own brings down the culture at least 10 points. So you got to keep that in mind.
Very true.
Awesome. Well, there's our PIP list, and now we're gonna rapid fire through our of the weeks. Jake, give me your play of the week.
Yeah. So I could have picked either of the two overtime goals for the hockey teams or Halliburton's last shot. But a guy you've probably never heard of, center fielder for the A's, made a play so incredible that I had to include it. And then yesterday he topped his own play. So I think he by far has the two best plays of the season. You got to go look him up. Dude's name is Denzel Clark. And this one he just made the other day is a home run robbery for the ages. Like old school, what you'd expect. Like puts his cleat, pushes off the back wall, puts a hole in the back wall, reaches over full waist, snags it. And as he's landing, like gives you one of these, he's like ready to go, like pimps it too. Just absolutely phenomenal. And the play he made a few days before is as full speed I've ever seen someone run face first into a wall and still catch a ball. And then he looked, I thought he passed out, and he lands and he's like smirking it as he's like on his knees on the ground. Like dude's got the aura, dude's making the plays. Like I'd never heard of him before, and now I'm gonna watch him like every night looking for highlights.
Jack stat of the week.
I mentioned it earlier in my Matt Nagy rant, but just the correlation between average depth of pass and your QBR is crazy. The dink and dunk merchants are really not great NFL quarterbacks. So yeah, cheer for your quarterback to have deeper average air yards.
Love it. And now we'll move into Grant Stoner's fade of the week. For the gambling illiterate, a fade is when you pick the opposite of where the general maybe idea is going. You fade a certain team, or you fade a certain bettor because they're picking something, you're going to fade them and pick against them because they're cold. And I'm a really bad gambler, so you should always fade what I do. So it's all based on like vibes and like very quick analysis. I'm not. So if you bet against this, you'll probably win some money. But here's my NFL over/under wins parlay for the year. Okay, I'm locking this in.
Okay.
3 teams. Falcons, under 7.5 wins. First full year of Michael Penix. We're still figuring it out. I don't know. I don't buy it yet. I'm going under Falcons, 7.5 wins. Lions, under 10.5 wins. They lost both their coordinators. Jared Goff, I don't think he's that guy. There's too much tape out on him now. Hot take, I think Hendon Hooker starts a game this season. Okay. Chicago Bears, over 8.5 wins. I'm buying the Bears. Listen to this. The Bears are this year's Washington Commanders. Okay? You lose a bunch of close games. You lose some close ones. This time, I think ball bounces their way more often. Everyone wants to doubt the Bears and loves to hate. I say get in while the getting's good. Bet on the Bears while the money's good. You got Joe Tooney on the line. You got Ben Johnson drawing plays who turned Jared Goff completely around. I like their trajectory. I'm going over Bears. And that's my fate of the week.
Easiest lock of my life. That for sure. You're gonna look smart in about 9 months, my friend.
That's what I'm saying. Don't forget. Save this up.
Dan Campbell's also like a pretty good head coach.
See, that's what I'm saying is I quick analysis and I ignore key information.
We'll talk about that next week.
All right.
Okay, and then finally, in a sentence, Jake, what are you watching this week?
In a sentence, I'm watching the U.S. Open golf tournament. They're going back to Oakmont, which is historically one of the hardest tournaments. They're projecting the final score, the winning score, to be over par. So it should be exciting if you like watching good golfers struggle. I'm also going to be watching the live action How to Train Your Dragon, though. So keep on the lookout for that.
Jack, what are you watching this week?
I'm watching the CWS. God bless Omaha. It's a great sport. I'm going to pick the smallest school that goes there and cheer like crazy for them.
Love it.
Murray State.
I'll be watching the NBA Finals. God bless small markets. And I'm watching Wes Anderson's Phoenician Scheme, his new movie in theaters tonight.
Let's go.
So we'll see. All right, that's
And
high.
I forgot to say it, but for the U.S. Open, God bless the USA.
God bless the USA. That's right. All right, that's high, low, ball. We'll see y'all next week.